Welcome to Producer's Toolbox. I'm your host, Carole Adrienne, and today we have two of my all-time favorite guests. They are top American casting directors, Diane Heery and Jason Loftus from Heery Loftus Casting. These guys are the real deal. They cast actors for feature films, national commercials, episodic and network television. They know what they're talking about. And today, we are addressing parents. If you are a parent and your child has ever said, "Mom, I want to be on TV," or "Dad, I think I could be in the movies," what do you do? So Jason and Diane are going to guide us through the pitfalls. We don't want to discourage you, but we want to give you the real picture so you can think carefully about what the next steps to take are. Now, Jason, we've talked about the professional film and television world as a very adult environment for children. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So what parents need to understand is that when you're on even a stage production, a lot of times it's a very adult world, meaning there are people who are working there. And oftentimes there are people who are working very long hours there. And you know, it's an environment that is high pressure. They only have so much time to get what they need, especially when your child books something and ends up on a TV show, movie, or whatever. They only have so much time commercial to shoot that because of state working hours. So there's even more pressure on production. And often a lot of kids are oblivious to it, but a lot of kids do pick up on their environment and they realize that they are in this kind of a pressure cooker of a situation because there's people buzzing all around them. There's all kinds of stuff happening. And I think that what we want to try to make sure parents understand is there's a lot of wonderful things for your kid as working in this business. But there's also the side of it that it's a job and it's a skill and you're being hired to do something. And if that kid is having trouble doing it, they're going to sense it on the day. And, just like it is with any job, there's, pressure for it. And that's why a lot of times we don't want kids to start working until they're in their late teens, because that environment has a lot of demands being put on you that, a child may not be used to.
And they're going to be working with crews. It's costing thousands of dollars a minute to film any of these things. So the crew is certainly aware of it. The child may not be. Now, a child's professional career in film and television, Diane, what does it require of the parent involvement?
There's a huge commitment for the parents. And there's a lot they don't understand when they first dive into this because there is so much involved. There's expectations that, you're putting your child out as he or she wants to be a professional actor. Well, that basically means you as the parent have become the professional chauffeur. So, expectations are, every audition, you have to be able to get your child to the audition, be ready, prepared, and every booking. And it's a whole other job for you as the parent. And a lot of parents don't realize that kind of commitment. So when all of a sudden they're not being responsive because they booked something in 2 days and the wardrobe people are trying to get in touch with you and you're not really responding right away because you have your own regular job to deal with, then, word gets out, well, the child may be really good, but the parents aren't responsible enough. Their parents can't handle all of the obligations that are going with this. And so that's something that they have to understand, that there's time and money involved in getting your child in this. So just something to consider.
And travel, right? It can be multiple days. It can be far away. It's pretty complicated.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Well, Jason, we were talking about earlier that parents really need to think about what they want, what you as a parent want for your child's life. What do you want for your life? And is this a good fit? What would you advise parents?
Well, this is the question, I think, when doing this, because not only, as Diane just said, not only is your child actively trying to pursue this and going to auditions or self-taping auditions and going to jobs, there has to be a guardian, a parent with them to go with the child everywhere they go. It's state law. Every state in this country requires that unless they are legally emancipated. And, even then, I don't know how good of a situation that can be unless they are a regular on a TV show or something like that. But I think the parent has to sit down and understand that, as building off what we've already said, that this is a very adult world, and children are being picked. They're having to compete with other kids. That's a tough environment. That's a tough environment on the parent and the kid sometimes when a child's not being chosen. We've had plenty of kids that booked, almost everything from 6 to 10 years old. And then they get a little bit older and they're becoming more of a teenager and they're not booking as much. And that can be rough on a kid because they may not fully understand it. Why, there's so many things are happening in a, from off to all of us, but, in that age range, that adding this onto it is a concern. So, Diane and I always try to keep up with, how kids are reacting in this situation. We can kind of sense it often. And I think it's important for the parent. You have to be the advocate. You have to check in on your kid's mental health. How are they dealing with it? If, a lot of times you're pulling these kids out of school to do these different things, is it something they still want to do? And do you want that for your child? Mm-hmm. This, like I said, one of the first things I said was this can be a very fun and, wonderful experience for kids. And for, the next experience may not be so great. And the parent has to be able to explain those situations to the child and, help them through the process.
Yeah, I think many times the problem is that the parent gets stars in their eyes themselves about, what this is going to be. And then comes the time for your child and they don't see what it's doing to the child. And some kids, they fit like a glove in this business and it's perfect for them. And other kids, it's okay to do one job here and there, but they don't want the pressure. And some kids just can't take it at all. And you really need to be responsible. And as a parent, to get yourself educated as to what is required. I mean, get to know the state laws of where you are and understand, that, a child this young is only allowed 4 hours on a set. So that there, there are certain age restrictions for each, different child. And if a parent doesn't know that, and the producer might try to take advantage of that. Hey, we only need it for 8 hours today, but the law only says 4. But if you don't know that, you're getting taken advantage of sometimes. Now, not every producer will do that. Most of them are very responsible people, but you still as a parent, need to be educated for that.
We've all heard those stories about child stars who were so adorable and chubby cheeked and curls, and they hit 12 or 13 and start to grow and they're taller, and all of a sudden they're not in demand anymore. That sounds to me like that would be pretty traumatic. I think I've seen TV movies about Shirley Temple and I think Judy Garland that happened to both of them. They got to be young teens and poof, they were gone from the scene. Wow. Well, now what about training for children? There are schools, there are workshops, and there are scams. What's the story on that?
Well, yes, and we always say that basically there are so many scams out there that are preying on your dreams, and because you're dreaming of being a star, getting your child as a star, and so you think this is how it goes, and you'll sign on the dotted line and pay anything there is to get your child that leg up in the business. And again, it comes down to being educated as to what is required in this industry. And you're going to get, the scams abound everywhere with and they're not. The definition of a scam is tricky because a lot of them read like scams, but they're legal. They're just right in the edge of legality. So everything they're doing is legal, but not necessarily ethical. And that's an important thing also the parent needs to look at. For training for a child, a kid needs to really have fun. They need to be children first. And the young ones, we don't want training out of those kids. We want fresh, natural, real, and just give them honest reactions. And a kid who's good at that, they'll be fine. And then maybe, there might be a tweak here and there for a particular audition just to help them form, the audition words better for them or something. That's fine. But no, they don't need real training.
Yeah, most training is very heavy-handed with kids, and that's not what really is needed in the situation. They want kids to be very natural and to be kids, and oftentimes they're trained out of that. And just if I could build off of, and Diane could probably build off of this as well, is one thing I often tell parents is make no mistake, in this business there is big business in taking money from parents who want their kids to be in movies, TV shows, or whatever. Big money. And probably millions and millions of dollars across the country in different things. The main thing in this business is you don't pay anyone. You only pay with somebody when you get a job and they get their percentage. Or yes, you could pay someone for headshots, but even then, when kids are really young, we don't recommend they get expensive headshots. All of these things are how people revenue generate off of you and your dreams. And you have to be real careful because what's very interesting about all these is they're kind of like hook classes where they get you involved in the first class and then they start selling you other stuff. You need this, you need headshot. Oh, you need headshot. You need a makeup artist. Why are you taking a 7-year-old through a makeup process? There's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on, which doesn't do the kid any good, doesn't help them become professional talent. It's really, there's schools that have these kids do a scene study, then they make a movie at the end and they have a fake red carpet and they take pictures and they make them feel like a star. Well, that stuff is great if that's what you want to do. But if you want your kid to actually be able to work in this business, those are things that don't really help them get to that point.
So if a director or producer says, oh, your 6-year-old daughter is just gorgeous, the camera loves her, and we need some headshots, it'll only be $500, and then maybe we should talk about her portfolio or her demo reel, what does a parent say?
No. Well, really, a 5-year-old doesn't need a demo reel. A 5-year-old doesn't, and headshots, children's faces change week to week as they grow. You're not going to spend big money on headshots. Everybody has a really good camera in their phones now, and you can snap some really good pictures of your kid. And we would much rather just see that selfie than some professionally airbrushed photo of your 5-year-old.
Where someone's trying to make them look like they're 17 years old.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about parental behavior too. Now, I have been on a couple sets where the parent could not stay out of the frame. And it was just kind of shocking behavior. And I thought, as a producer, if I were working with children, I would want to know that the parents really had some understanding of what's really going on. What happens when a parent is difficult on set?
You hear about it instantly. And quite often what happens is they find a way to minimize how much they use that child. And this has happened multiple times. Diane can tell you, is when we've cast a child in a movie and it's, kind of a substantial thing, they've auditioned the parent too. And the parent doesn't know they're being auditioned. They talk to the parent. They, kind of get what the vibe is. We've actually seen one on a movie, I guess it was, 12 years ago now, where the director's assistant sat in the lobby while the parent and the kid were waiting to come in because they just wanted to observe how they were treating the child. And basically if it was a healthy situation. Nobody wants that problem on set. It all goes back to what we said originally. Like, if the parent is doing this, pushing this for the child to be famous or trying to get some sort of glory for themselves, that comes out immediately. And it really has no place. Like, again, because this is a very adult environment. Mm-hmm. People are working. They don't want to deal with someone's insecurities while they're trying to get a job done.
Wow. You guys have mentioned something that I think is so important, and you emphasized it, which is the child's mental health. And this can be a really stressful situation. This can mean audition after audition and getting rejected. What do you recommend?
I think that's a real crucial part of it, because even for an adult actor, they're auditioning hundreds of times and only booking 2 or 3 jobs. So for a child, if it's no longer fun, they should stop. There's other things in their lives. They can play soccer. They should swim. They should do something else, because it shouldn't be their be all and end all, unless there's that very special spark in that one child. But when that child has that special spark, he's not being affected as badly with a rejection. They understand how to take it, which is the rare child. It's just a little quick aside. My mother used to teach first grade, and she had a little boy. The mom came in the first day of school and said, "My son's an actor, and he'll be leaving school every day at lunchtime because he has auditions in New York every day." All right. And so 2 or 3 times a week, he left at lunchtime. And one day, this kid came in 6 years old, and he was a puddle of nerves, a mess, crying and my mother said, "What's wrong?" He says, "My mother said if I don't book this job, we won't be able to buy a new car." And he was in tears. He was a wreck. And the principal said, "No more. He can no longer be taken out of school for auditions." So the mom took him out of the school and found another school who would cooperate.
She should have lined up a child psychiatrist when she started lining up the auditions. It sounds like that's a very fragile thing, a child's psyche. And I mean, like you said, adults have trouble with rejection at auditions. I would never go to one. It's pretty frightening. And you don't know, you could be up against 50 kids with professional backgrounds. Mm-hmm. So, wow. Well, as a parent, how do you learn what's involved? How do you do the research? What should you be looking into?
Well, what we tell people to do is there are reputable sources to go to. One is, whatever city you're in, usually city or state has a film office. And we're lucky in the Philadelphia area to have a really great one, and New Jersey right beside us, who is also a very good one with a lot of resources just on their websites, and you pretty much are only on their websites as a vendor, meaning like an agent or whatever, if you have a state license. Now, what's kind of unique about what I'm about to say is, some states know how to regulate agents and some don't. And that doesn't mean if like a Pennsylvania agent, they have a business license, but they may not have some of the other state certifications that someone in like New Jersey will have. And that's only because the laws are different governing agents and managers. And that's a very complicated part of this business. But most of the reputable ones will have a business license, and if they're in Philadelphia, they have a city license, they have all their proper, certifications and such. The first thing to do is people call us all the time and just want us to tell them where to take their kid. Well, we have a lot of good agents in the area, and not all of them are the same. And we just encourage the parents to call them, and it's okay to interview an agent.
Mhm.
What
Uh,
happens if an agent or a manager asks for a fee up front? Should your hackles rise?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you should only be paying a commission on work you actually book. And that's valid. Now, it could be your agent may say, hey, listen, you need new headshots, but you shouldn't be pressured into taking their headshot photographer. You should be able to say, I'll get our own headshots. Or, maybe, a class, or maybe this kid should do this. Yeah, but you shouldn't be pressured into using their reference. You should do your own homework.
Can you talk a little bit more about the competition aspect of it, Jason? How that impacts an actor, period, whether they're a child or an adult?
Well, I think that's one of the things that is hard to get across, even to adult talent, is in this, it's a business, and most of the time you're auditioning for one role as an actor. And, we're just working on a movie right now. And Diane, for one role, we had 600 plus, submissions, and we have to go through, and we go through each one of them. But the actor has to understand that this is a competition, and it's all in how you look at it. And all of it comes down to is embracing it, mm-hmm. and looking at it as an opportunity. And there are so many times we've had talent that have come into us for like 3 straight projects, whether they be commercials or whatever they may be. And they don't book, and they probably are thinking to themselves, well, maybe I'm not right for this or whatever. And then the next project comes in, and we think of them because they came in and they were giving us good auditions, and they were, prepared, and they were ready and all that kind of stuff. And then we bring them in for something different, or, anything along those lines. It's, the competition aspect of it is something that, is probably not talked about enough, because if you don't, to me, what and in preparing as an actor is, to know your lines, have a good grasp of the scene, have a plan for what you do when you go into the audition, and you do all those things knowing that you're competing. And I think a lot of people may call that different things, but to us, and to people who are booking people, it's a kind of a competition. Who best fits what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like that does kind of, when you talked about it, viewing it as a possible opportunity, because once you've seen these kids in auditions, 2 months later, you might think, oh, that kid would be perfect for this commercial or this TV show. So it is an opportunity for a callback, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every audition should be thought of as, here's the more difficult thing to understand is getting the auditions harder than booking the job. Because say, like Jason said, we had 600 submissions for one job. We only asked 1/10 of them to actually audition. So your odds of just getting the audition are hard. So you should fully appreciate getting the audition and using that as your opportunity to shine. And you may not book that job, but you're shining and you're going to get remembered for the next job. And that's what's so critical. So it's, everything leads to something else.
Oh, I like that. That leaves doors open. Mm-hmm. So plus there should never be a fee to audition, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And that's part of these other scams that aren't really scams, that are legal. They're pulling this thing of, oh, well, we can make your child a star, and but it's $500 and we'll do this for you and we'll do that for you. So yes, technically they're doing a service for you. They're giving you a class, or they're giving you new headshots, but they're charging these astronomical fees. And that's where the people get sucked in.
Wow. Well, do you guys have any last thoughts, admonitions, or suggestions for parents facing this particular situation?
Well, one thing that happens that we see in this business with kids is usually the kid is the driving force when is the child really will let you know if they want to do it. And it kind of builds off itself. Like we've seen kids like do a school play, then a community theater, and then they're like, the parents like, they seem to like this. Let's keep doing stuff with them. And those situations are usually the ones that work out the best because the child is driving the desire to do it and not the parent. And also one thing to keep in mind, that it is often kids, they change so quickly. And, is sometimes there've been times, I don't know how many times I've said in a waiting room, a kid will walk in and I'll see them and I'll go, they're as tall as me. The last time I saw them, they were, 4 feet tall, and this happens really fast. And I guess one thing I would want parents to know is that when those kind of changes happen, they shouldn't lament it. Like we meet parents that are like, oh, they're not that little cute kid anymore, so they can't do that stuff. You know what I mean? But they should embrace it because now they're becoming an adult, and there's different opportunities that'll come that way.
Wow. Well, it sounds like parents, you need to be as skilled as your child if you're entering into the world of professional film and television. Diane and Jason, thank you so much. And for more information, you can go to heeryloftus.com. Did I get that right?
Well, actually, it's castinghl.com.
Castinghl.com. I'm sorry. But thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see the next crop of child stars coming out of it all. And hope to see you guys again. Thanks again.
Thank you.